Okay, hello, I hope you can all hear me. We're just going to give it a couple more minutes for people to join, and then we'll start with the webinar. Yeah, that's true.
Doing something on LinkedIn, the invite was starting right now, or
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, I'm just going to start. I think there was some confusion with the LinkedIn post that it was going to start last Thursday, but you were just going to be pinged on there and see if anyone will receive notification when it started. Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead. So, yeah, hello, my name is Nika. Welcome to our webinar of Secondary Germany, Living and Working in Germany. So this is our first webinar in what's going to be a series of webinars covering various topics on moving to integrating in Germany. So in this series, we'll answer questions for those who are thinking about moving to Germany or who have already decided that they're going to move to Germany. But before I begin and introduce our speaker, I'm just going to make you aware for GDPR purposes that we are recording this webinar for it to be uploaded on our YouTube channel later on. Just to make you aware. And the third point is that with the emails provided upon registration, we will keep in contact with details of future goings on. So, for example, future webinar topics, dates and times as when they will go ahead. You are, of course, free to unsubscribe later on if you wish, but these future webinars will go into specific topics in greater detail. So, for example, our next webinar will be on the topic of how to find a job in Germany. So that will go into that topic much more in depth. Is that maybe someone's microphone?
Hello, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me.
Nika, can you mute your mic? If one is speaking, one has to mute the mic because it's echoing. Yeah.
So hopefully we came across with the echo. Hopefully there is no echo right now. So my name is Burkhard. I am the co-founder of Terra Talent. Happy to have you all on the call. I work for the city of Berlin for nearly 15 years. In these 15 years, I try to help Berlin-based companies to attract talent from third countries. And Berlin was quite successful in doing so, and within the last 2 years, we tackled a little bit beyond the talent pool here in Berlin. Though the Indian community is one of the biggest one, we extended our network to Africa and other countries, and this is why I'm starting Terra Talents at the company. So with the presentation, first a little bit of background Terra Talent, the purpose of the webinar, and then trying to dig a little bit deeper in the German labor market. To give an overview, this is only the first start of a series of webinars we are trying to do. We focus a little bit on Germany and the labor market, the industries in total. I think there will be another webinars on how to apply for a job, visa questions, things like that. I think there are so many questions, so we cannot answer them all at once. We started with this overview. Terra Talent, as a little bit already explained, is a completely new built company. We started in October last year with 3 partners. Julian, a colleague of mine, lived for some years in India and has a very good network in India. I have the opportunity to visit some African countries, have some background there, and we have a third one. Martin was pretty much into the German industries and doing a lot of relocation jobs here in Germany. With Terra Talent, we try to bridge the German Mittelstand, and I will explain on that later on, to talent pool outside of Germany. So we are not a headhunting company. We are trying to bridge between German companies and talent pool outside by building networks. There is where we start, and only on Friday we will go for the next trip to Africa, Kigali. Julia, my partner, is going to India in 2 weeks. So there's where we are trying to bridge between Germany and other countries. What we can offer, a little bit of a background I brought with my old position at the city of Berlin. We have a very big network in Europe, so some other areas, cities in Denmark, Norway, we have it on the map. They're all interested in this talent pools outside of Europe. So it's not only that we can try to bridge to Germany, but also to other areas in Europe where we have a close network on that. We have in the presentation some of the links where you can find those job opportunities in Europe, so that you can reach out to them also. What we also do, and this is a very lively network, we are joined up forces with Africa Berlin Tech Network, a network here for the Black community in Berlin and Germany about the software digital scene, and we agreed that we have those kind of webinars together to reach out to those information. In the end, our presentation is not only about the digital scene, but beyond. But the digital scene, I think, is where the most opportunities are in the German labor market. So I like that pretty much this cooperation with the Africa Berlin Tech Network. They are going to organize the trip to Kigali on Friday. But now, let's dig deep into Germany. When I give presentations in front of students, I always like to raise the question initially, what kind of associations, what kind of pictures do we have in mind when you think about Germany? I think we put some pictures in here. Perhaps one of the famous one is German beer. It's about Oktoberfest. Perhaps it's about cars, Mercedes-Benz, BMW, Volkswagen, Porsche, all of that. Football, Fußball, perhaps Borussia Dortmund, Bayern München, the typical things which came to your mind. the industry, cultural background, coming from Berlin, sometimes it's party, Berghain, music scene, which perhaps is what came to your mind in Germany. But here it's about the employment opportunities. We try to focus a little bit on that. We put some information on Germany. It's always interesting if you see that summary on one place. If I read this slide, I was pretty much surprised. Okay, you know somewhere that Germany is having borders with 9 other European countries. If I shall name that right now, I think I have to think about that. It's French, Poland, Denmark, Austria, whatever that is. So it's in the heart of Europe. We are the biggest company country by numbers. Nearly 84 million inhabitants here. A lot of them have migrant backgrounds in Germany. Already tackled a little bit on the economy, where we are quite known for automotive, engineering, technology sectors. There is a lot of culture going on, the UNESCO World Heritage. We have a lot of churches, cathedrals, museums. Perhaps you know the Cologne Cathedral, things like that, which are outstanding for our cultural background. I was surprised that we have 20,000 castles. Obviously, that's the case, because once you live here, you simply overlook them. I think Germany is well known for the educational system with the universities, nearly beyond that you have to pay big fees to join them. So public universities with a high standard. And Germany is still covered by a lot of forest. So 1/3 of companies of the country is still in a rural area. And I learned here in the slide that we have 700 zoological gardens. So quite interesting. The transportation system in Germany is, I think, which is also quite well known. We Germans are car driven. I can say that because I like to cycle by bike during the city, but in Germany we are mad about cars. So we have the motor highways where we drive a lot around. When I grew up with my family in a more rural area, all of a sudden, 4 persons in a household, we have 4 cars. That is pretty much what happened here in Germany. Nevertheless, in the bigger cities, we use a lot of bikes right now. Some of those cities already are quite bike friendly. If you go for the Scandinavian countries, I would say there is room for improvement in that regard. But for example, the public transport system here in Germany is quite good. So in the bigger cities, and we put some maps from Berlin and Munich on that, is something where you always can make use of. It's running quite good. The capital of Germany is Berlin. Right now, Berlin is the biggest city in Europe, as long as we talk about the European Union and UK with the Brexit left, because London, in that sense, would be bigger. So Berlin is now the biggest city within the European Union. Perhaps something which came to your mind when you think about Germany is about that Germany was divided after the Second World War. Mostly you can see that in Berlin, where we have the wall, and we have the west part of the city and we have the east part of the city. It's a little bit of a shortcut. The island of freedom, so the western part, which was covered by the French, the Brits, and the US, and we have the Russians in the eastern part as a showcase of the proletarian paradise. Interesting enough, if you look on the background, if you talk to people, it's still a little bit when you see that people have English as a second language. Very likely, if they are a little bit older, not the young ones, that they are from the West. If they have a Russian language knowledge, then they might be probably from the east part of it. So you can still see it somewhere in the population where the origins are coming from. And interesting enough, also when it comes for international cooperation, so for sure the Western part with the European Union, US, and things like that. The DDR, the GDR, DDR in former times more on the communist states, some in Africa, Mozambique, Tanzania, Ethiopia as some examples, Cuba, Vietnam. So if you visit Germany once or Berlin, you may feel whether it's still a little bit of West, at least in the city. But perhaps my colleagues Stenica and Paul, Kenny, which are younger, can refer to that if they still see that you can feel and see these differences between East and West. Berlin is now the startup hub of Europe. We have a little bit of that in the pictures. You can see that within 1990, when the wall came down, there was really a wasteland in Berlin. There was an inner circle where there was nothing because there was the wall before. And if you now look there, this is the Potsdamer Platz with the high towers, the skyscrapers. So Berlin is now competing with Paris and London to be the #1 in the startup scene. So it really changed for the last 5 to 7 years to the better, that employment opportunities are becoming better and better here in Berlin. On the next one, why Germany should be on your radar. Career opportunities for sure is one thing. We have the 4th largest economy in the world here in Germany. So a very strong economy. When it comes for growth rates, within the last 2 years, we have not been the #1 in Europe. So a little bit of struggling with the economy, but still a very strong one, very export orientated. I came to that later on. We have a lower unemployment rate right now compared to Europe. You see it's below 4% right now, which is like full employment overall. There are some long-time unemployed people in Germany. There is a youth unemployment rate, but this sometimes relates to refugees. We have the Syria refugee crisis. We have the Ukrainian refugee crisis. So if you take that into consideration, then the numbers would be even better. Job availability, if you check on websites, job websites and things like that, it's anything between 600,000, 1 million jobs, whoever counting that. So a lot of open jobs, refer to that also later. And which is one of the problems we have, that's demographic statistics, demography. We are an aging population. Almost a quarter of the population is aged over 65. So the retirement within the next 7 to 10 years is enormous. So that brings it to a quote coming from the Federal Employment Agency. Germany needs to attract 400,000 skilled workers per year to meet the demand in the upcoming years. This is nearly dramatic. The demographics is true for years, but as I mentioned, that we are an old aging population, this kind of that a lot of people will retire within the next year by year, this number will increase. And in specific areas, for example, like in the public administration, it's like 25%, 30% of those people within the next 5 years will retire. So this is a big shift in the employment section here in Berlin. On the next slide, might be interesting. It's in the end not on one branch sector, it's on different. IT is something where there is a lot of discussion going on that we need, Germany is lacking some digital competences. Comparing European Union, we are only on place 13, 14. What about digital services we're offering? So we are already behind. One is the shortage of skilled labor force. And if you look in those different areas, you see, as simple as it is, that this demand for qualified talent is increasing over the years, and those numbers will go up even if there is some struggling in the economy. Simply looking on the demographics, those numbers will rise within the next years. On the next slide, we have tried to explain a little bit how the business landscape looks like in Germany. It's not always easy, but we have made it like there are corporates, we have SMEs, and we have the very small ones. The corporates, it's a matter of definition. Normally it's said that they have more than 250 employees, a turnover of 25 million euro per year, and then a balance sheet about 40 million euros per year. It's only a rough definition of corporates. Mostly those companies are listed on a stock exchange in the German DAX or somewhere else. I think we did some name dropping. We have already the car industry with BMW, Mercedes-Benz, Volkswagen. We have the IT industry with SAP. We have industries, heavy industries like Siemens. We have service providers like the Deutsche Post, Allianz, which are very big corporates here in Germany, and I have to look that number up. We have in total a number of 3.2 million companies in Germany. Corporates are said about 21,000 corporates in Germany, and those 20,000 corporates in Germany, they do employ 43% of the labor market here in Germany. So that's a big part of the German labor market. We have like 500,000 of small and medium-sized companies. We always name them the Deutsche Mittelstand, which is the backbone of the German industry. I think they are covering about 36% of the German labor force. When you're trying to apply for those Mittelstand, sometimes it's hard to find them. We just put some names. Wirth is, they are producing screws. Schrauben. So in the B2B area, everybody knows them. They have more than, I don't know, exactly 20,000 employees. That's a super big, but already not that well known to apply for jobs over there. Schaeffler is one of the big corporates with 30,000 employees. Working for BMW, Mercedes-Benz, for the car producing industries. Economy is a good example. Nobody knows in Germany Economy. They have more than 15,000 employees in Germany. The more known brands behind is the MediaMarkt, Saturn, consumer electronics, where they are in the market. The next two ones, Razor Group and Finn, all in the automotive industry. It's just to give you an example that's hard to find those Mittelstand in the labor market because the brands are not that well known. So if people always try to apply for the German market, they know the big corporate brands and try to work for them. But with my German background, when we have been raised or raising our children, it's like if you would like to have a secure career, then we all apply for those jobs in the big corporates. And in whatever 20 years ago, it's like you once sign a employment contract with Siemens, and that already means that you retire with the Siemens job. So you never quit or change a job. So it's super hard to compete for jobs with those because they receive thousands of applications. With the SMEs, it would be easier because even we Germans perhaps do not know them all in detail. Though they struggle much more in getting talent, but how to find them. And then we still have the small ones. And when you look on the numbers, we have like 2.5 million of those companies below 10 employees. And then that's becoming super hard to find. And sometimes they are world market leaders in their specific niche. So I just put that Alberg Engineering. I think nobody knows them. They are located here in Berlin. And they are in optics and electronics in that field, a small one, but world market leaders and always looking for international talent. The other two examples do not fit by the brand in that thing, but it's about the startup scene. Rocket Internet is one of the biggest companies producing startups. So what I meant with the picture is, okay, they created Zalando, HelloFresh, and things like that, but they have a lot of small startups which are very international, English-speaking, international population. But again, you have to know them. Carsten Maschmeyer is a well-known private person. He was the owner of an insurance company. Sold that whatever 10 years ago, and he's now one of the biggest investors in startups here in Germany. So in that field, a lot of opportunities are to be found. But when it comes for when you think about 3.2 million companies, how to find the best fitting job to your own skill set is not an easy task. Main industries already focus on that. Electrical backgrounds like Siemens, automotive, already mentioned the mechanical engineering, something like Bosch, Miele, all those kind of companies. We have a very big pharmaceutical industry in Germany, Bayer, Pfizer, Sanofi, all of them. We have a very big growing information and technology. I mentioned already SAP, which I think are quite well known. It's good to have an idea on those industries because that gives you a little bit a picture on the demand and what job profiles are mostly looked for. Coming back to the corporates, SMEs, and the small ones, language barrier sometimes is an obstacle. I would still say that the corporates like Volkswagen, Adidas, whoever, are very German companies. It's something where I would say that the labor market is a little bit divided between the digital scene and the IT scene, which is pretty much working in English, even as a business language within the company, and very traditional German corporates and the Mittelstand owned by private persons, Inhaber geführt. very often Germany is still required. We will, in one of our oncoming webinars, elaborate a little bit more on that. So language might be still an obstacle. Why Germany should be on the radar? Number 2, high standard of living. I did this talent marketing for the city of Berlin, and I know that other companies like the Scandinavians all claim to be the friendly work-life balance best area. I think the Germans are not that bad on that. Daily working hours per day are 8 hours. Overtime work is still considered sometimes to be done. When I started my career, it was very often that you have to work for 10 hours, 12 hours. And if you leave early, then everybody's looking on you. Why are you going home? You're only working half time, or what's going on? So I think this changed a little bit to the better. We have a very secure environment, political stability. There is some right-wing party discussions going on if you look on that, but I think this is on a daily basis. And again, something perhaps where my colleagues Danica, Kenny, and Paul can give you more insight what that means for daily work life with a migrant background here in Germany. I would say that it's normally a stable place with not more problems than other European countries. We have public health insurance, which is normally very good. There's also private ones, unemployment benefits, social welfare. There is a pension plan. So this is where we are pretty much on the top of the labor markets in the world, I would say. Employee rights. We have a minimum wage, and there is a paid leave. The General Equal Treatment Act, Gleichbehandlungsgesetz. In reality, I think sometimes there is still a mismatch between female and male wages, which is still true. We have a strong trade unions. Latest, we have some strikes going on the public transport system. So. But in total, I would say the balance, work-life balance here in Germany is okay. Is something where you really can go for. 3, perhaps cultural background things, salary negotiations. We Germans always make a big secret on salaries, so nobody is said to talk about what the people are earning if there is not a tariff or a trade union agreement. Normally, you negotiate your salary on an annual basis, and then you divide it by 12. Then you know what you get by month as a gross salary. Normally, we would like to have as Germans fixed salaries, so no commissions, no provisions. Even only if you are in a heavy sales job, then people would like to have some provisions because then they can earn more. But on the German side, we'll try to be on the safe side and say, okay, this is what we have in pocket. This is what is safe. So this is what we like. Annual leave by law, I think officially it's like 20. If you have like a 5 working day contract, it's like 20 days, which is you have to have by law. And the average is something between 24 to 26. Normally, if you get older, it's up to 30 days per year. And every public holiday is coming additionally on that. So sometimes people are just blaming us that, for example, from an US perspective, that we have too many free days here in Germany. But I always advise companies, if they negotiate employment contract with employees, it's sometimes not only about the salary, it's also about the annual leave. So even you offer more free days than a higher salary, so that the work-life balance is been accepted. What we did not mention is remote working, office working. I think right now it's something like very often that you have to be 3 days in the office, 2 days in the office, 3 days at home. So there are a lot of companies offering this remote home office jobs right now. We Germans, I mentioned that earlier, are trying to be on the safe side. This is why we always try to be employed on social contributions. So hardly be self-employed. 90% of the workforce is an employee. Only 10% are self-employed. And this is a little bit different to other European countries, where there is a higher number of self-employed people, but sometimes we Germans do want to have the risk. So this is why we get for the companies. Cultural and society. I would say that Germany is a very diverse nation when it comes for the work population. 170 nationalities here in Germany. There is a lot of migrant background in Germany. A lot of cultural festivals, Karneval der Kulturen, for example, here in Berlin, in Bavaria, we have the Oktoberfest. A lot of languages are spoken. Turkish community is big, Arabic community is big. It's a little bit depending of where you are in Germany. Here in Berlin, I think very international city, English is always an option. In other more rural areas, it might become more complicated if you have less German language skills, but there is a way into the labor market with less German language skills. Culinary diversity. I think everything is available here in Germany beyond the currywurst and Leberkäse or whatever that might be. If the Indians like the Indian restaurants in Germany or whether they are more to the German taste is something where we can discuss. The music background is big, a lot of concerts are going on. I think even not only for pop music, but also for the classic. We have the Berliner Philharmoniker, we had Leonard Bernstein here in Berlin, so a lot of Asians always admire that there is a big cultural diversity here in Germany. What you have to keep in mind is that we have Bundesländer, federal states, at least 16 here in Germany. And this is something, when you apply for a job in Germany, is something that you have to really consider, because they have legislative power in those areas. So when it comes for schools, universities, and things like that, so there is a difference between the Bundesländer. There is a difference in the industries, for example, for those countries where they have more heavy industry, IT companies or whatever. So you really have to look into where you have to go. I think commuting times up to 1 hour one way is something which is quite normal here in Germany. But to commute beyond Bundesländer boundaries is something which is becoming sometimes even more complicated. Or if you then try to bridge to Poland, Denmark, or other neighboring countries, is something you have to consider on your journey to Germany. One of the big differences is the salary. We put that on an average scale, so that you see there are stronger economic areas in Germany and there are weaker ones. So if you go in those eastern part, like Mecklenburg-Vorpommern, there is a huge difference to salaries in other areas, which is also according to the living costs. So it's much cheaper to live in Mecklenburg-Vorpommern. So the net calculation between what you earn and what you have to pay for daily living might be the same. But if you think about, okay, I would like to really have a good salary and have some savings, then you should the in what area you are applying from the industry background and from the geographic backgrounds. Don't want to go into that very much in detail. The social security system in Germany, I think for those already started a career in Germany, if you get your first salary slip, you sometimes are surprised between the difference between what the gross and the net is, because there is a lot of things going on taxes and pension and then unemployment things. But when you once retire or you get a payback, that's quite nice. But even for the employer, the gross salary is not that cheap here in Germany. It's cheaper than, for example, in the Scandinavian countries where they pay more on that. But you have to be aware that the salary negotiation, that what you net get might be a difference. That was the first overview of the labor markets. Right now, we have some contact details. We already announced our next webinar, and now we're open for Q&A. So I don't know whether there are already some questions in the chat, and then perhaps so on Paul, Danica and Kenny, anything to add immediately to the first overview? What do you think? Okay, what you experienced when you already did your first step into the German labor market? So what came to your mind as a very important point, which strikes you in starting your job here in Germany?
Hi, yeah, sorry about the sound at the beginning. I don't know what happened there, but yeah, for me, I would say that the process of getting a job in Germany is, especially the visa process, is quite lengthy. But for me, Burkhard, my employer, was able to go the fast track route. So that's where your employer can then apply on your behalf for the visa. So that made it much easier for me. But yeah, coming to Germany was, I enjoy Germany. I really love Germany, and I think I've settled in quite well. And but other than, you know, those bureaucratic things that we will discuss later on, so how to tackle those, how to make the process easier, we will tackle that later on in more webinars. But overall, I would say, yeah, entering the German labour market was okay. It was okay. And obviously we're here now, and all three of us, so me, Paul and Kenny, we all have a migrant background, and we all came here and we've all been through the same process. So yeah, but if anyone has any specific questions, obviously be aware that we will discuss things in further detail in later webinars. But if any of you have any questions right now, you can put them in the chat and we can discuss them. Well, Paul, what's your experience coming into the German labour market?
Hi, I'm Paul. So I'm from Ghana, and then I recently moved to Germany like about 3.5 years ago. So it's quite different for everybody, right? Like I came here to study initially, and then after that, I moved on to the BSS scholarship and then the Exist Gründer scholarship for founders. And then later on, I got employed by Terra Talent. It's a different journey for everyone. There are people who directly apply from their home countries to come into Germany and then work. But for me, I did that right in Germany. It's a different experience altogether. But the most difficult part is like getting your documents together. In Germany, there's a way to apply for a job, which is quite different for which is quite different to our home countries, right? So it's more about getting a cover letter, getting your references, getting your CV. Your CV shouldn't be longer than 2 pages, and then it should be very, very concise and then simple. Some companies recommend you have your picture on your CV, some don't. So it's up to you. For me, I didn't keep my picture on my CV. But then you should also look at other options, and then applying for a job is quite like, I wouldn't say hectic or stressful, because there are lots of positions open in Germany. So getting one or getting an interview is very easy. And then interviews are mostly in stages. From my experience, it's mostly about 4 to 5 stages, where you have the first call with HR, the second call with the team, and then later on you have a meeting with the team or an assessment. So it's very, very different, right? And to me, that's my experience. In terms of language, some job applications still requires German, even though the job description is in English. How do you go about that? Well,
Paul, don't want to interrupt you. No, if you hear an answer on the very good question, Davis. It's there's no clear answer in that. As long as the whole company sounds to be German, I would perhaps even recommend to send it in both languages. So make a German application and translate it to English, or the other way around, just to show that perhaps your mother language is English, but you already translated that, so you are, so to say, eager to do so, and give a little bit of hand to the employer, that you have a concern on that. So it's a little bit of research on the background of the company, and if you think they are mostly doing everything in German, then you should show that you are at least trying to get some German already in the application. If you think, okay, everything is in English and they only ask for them, then you may just simply put that in the cover letter and say, okay, I did the application in English. I'm just learning German language, or on the A1, A2 level, whatever. So it's a little bit an individual case. I will try to answer that question. We are trying to support companies which did not recruit from third countries right now. If they don't know how to do that, how to deal, for example, with a question on language and something, so we try to help them to get an understanding how to prepare culture-wise, language-wise. So if companies already know how to hire internationally, then they do not need our help. So we are part of the game of those. I mentioned those numbers, that we are an old age population, and so many job offers are in the labor markets, and more companies now thinking about, okay, I don't find any German talent, so this is now I have to go the first time ever on the international labor market, how to do and how to behave and how to cope with that. This is where we are in the labor market.
The next question, do the companies you work with provide visa sponsorship?
This is a clear yes. So as Terra Talent have this, Danica mentioned this, shortcut to German immigration authorities. We also would offer to the companies this kind of visa service.
So, Davis, I do not know if this is a question or a statement, but with this, I think, well, some companies have their culture, working culture in English, but you could be dealing with the German market, so they need someone who speaks German. That is why they actually told you that. So that I think you should always like inquire with the company before you apply or get into the interviews. One of the first things you should ask, I think so.
Yeah, something I will add to that as well is, like Burkhard already said, it's about doing your research. So, of course, if the job description is in English, but then they say, okay, we require German, obviously it's a bit annoying, but of course there are jobs in these bigger, more international businesses that do work in English as well. So for my experience, when I applied for this job, I let them know I sent an application in German, but I made them aware of what my German level was, and I just said, what do you have for me? This is my German level. When I went to the interview, I spoke in German just so they knew what my level was. And then they gave me a position that is more in English. So if you have these companies where there is a mix of German and English, some employers can also offer you an English speaking position with maybe a German position that fits your skills. So that's just my little experience there.
I think Rahul also has a question. I have obtained a job seeker visa for Germany, which makes me eligible to apply for jobs in Germany, and I am ready to join the company as soon as possible when I receive my work visa. I am currently working in regulatory risk and compliance domain, which involves US taxation. I have done my master's and some professional certifications in this domain. Would be grateful if anyone could help.
Yeah. So short answer on that, Rahul. I think we have a long webinar, especially on that question. It's hard to apply for a job from outside of Germany. I already mentioned that, for example, if you try to apply for a corporate job at Bosch, they receive so many applications. And if there is one more coming in from India, it's very likely that you don't get under the first 1% of those applications which are going for the interview. It's on the other hand, sometimes that I hear from HR companies that they are a little bit like swarmed from applications coming from India and other areas, and they are not having the competences or the resources to really do check them. So it's something where it takes a lot of research to really find out a very good job according to the skill sets you have, and to make it application which is outstanding and is obvious for the recruiter that you have to invite you. So sometimes it's like it seems like a lot of jobs are on the market, a lot of applicants are there, but the match is still something which is not working all the time. So this is the first answer. Happy to invite you to join our next, where we just try to dig deeper into how to find that perfect job, because very often the job offers from the companies, they are extensive and they are asking for everything, and then the people applying for might be that also trying to do it at length. and then there is no match on that. So a complicated situation, because this kind of market between job offers and applicants is not always as easy to match as it seems on the paper.
Which process do talents go through to be connected with companies you are hiring for?
What we do initially is CV checking, some background talks on the CV with the respective persons, to do a pre-selection, and to then give the pre-selection to the HR company. And then depending on what the pre-selection process of the company requires. This is a short answer.
Question. How can I secure a job in Germany from Ghana? I have my first degree in public relations. Kindly guide me.
Can you, that's the last question, how can I secure a job in Germany from Ghana? I have. Yeah, this is again a question we can tackle in the next webinar a little bit more, because this is not an answer giving in 2 sentences. This is a lengthy background, how to find a job which is really fitting to your skill set, and to do this kind of an outstanding, really good application, which is then taken in by a recruiter.
Okay, that's all the questions, I think. But yes, so like I said in our introduction, we will in the next webinar discuss more in detail about finding a job in Germany. So that includes skills for CV writing, the job search, so which sort of websites to use to find a job, the actual researching for finding a job that fits with you and your skill set, and also then the actual application as well. So that is what we will discuss in the next webinar. So with your emails, we will then contact you with regards to that. So when we are all prepared, and then we'll give you a date and time for when that goes ahead. We'll add another link on LinkedIn if you have notifications or whatever. So yeah, you can join us for that one where we'll go more in depth. But yeah, but thank you very much. Thank you for all of you that attended, and thank you for your questions, and yeah, staying here for the whole hour. And it's great. And yes, hope you have a nice evening.
Thank you.